Years ago, I started studying with Jim Chapin, and Jim's this legendary drummer. And ended up meeting Jim. I snuck into my first NAMM show under a media badge. I'd started producing this little tabloid-sized drum publication called Drummer's Jargon. And the only reason I started producing that is because I wanted a NAMM badge to go to NAMM, and NAMM is the National Association of Music Merchants. It's our trade organization for the music products industry. And I wanted to go to this show in Nashville really bad, and I was like maybe 16, 17, and I wanted to get in out there. So in order to get in, I had to have some kind of credentials. Like I either had to work for a manufacturer or work for a retailer, and Progressive wasn't really started yet. And so I started this drum magazine called Drummer's Jargon. And I was the writer, the editor, the layout designer, graphic designer. I did all of it, And I had a friend of mine, he had a computer. He's like one of the first dudes I knew that had a computer. And so I got him to help me lay it out. I think we did it on like Microsoft Publisher or something. And then I think the rest of it, if we couldn't get it on Publisher, like we would cut it out of a magazine, like tape it to the thing. That's how we kind of put the thing together. But I got a media badge to go to NAMM in Nashville. Drove all night. It was like 14 hours to get out there. And we didn't leave town until like 7:30 or 8 o'clock the night before. And so we drove overnight to get there. And we get to the hotel. It's like the Stouffer Renaissance downtown Nashville. We get there the next morning, and I step out on the sidewalk, and I just remember we pulled up right in front of the Stouffer, and as soon as the door opens up, there's Jim Capaldi, the original drummer for Traffic, who's passed away now. He's standing on the sidewalk talking to Carmine Appice, from Vanilla Fudge and Rod Stewart, and it was just amazing. I was like, these guys are just standing around downtown Nashville talking. I've only seen them in the magazines, and here they are. It was just from the very moment I stepped foot out there, it's like, oh my God, it's mind blowing. And I ended up, when I got in the show, I'm walking around, I ended up somehow meeting Jim Capaldi, and we rode down an elevator together to go to the show floor, and he was just this really great guy. He spent a bunch of time talking to me, and so I kind of split up talking to him, and I'm walking around the show floor, and as I'm walking down this long aisle, I see Jim Chapin. Here he comes, and I'm like, oh my God, it's Jim Chapin. And by this time, I'd really gotten heavy into drums, and was really just getting into that whole, this tunnel vision. It's all I want to do is just, play drums. And I see Jim Chapin, and I'm like, oh my God, this legendary, figure. I mean, Jim Chapin was like the father of modern drumming. Without Jim, we wouldn't be playing a lot of the things we do now. And here he comes. He's walking by me, and I didn't really know what to say. It'd be like if you are out now and you see Prince or somebody, and you're like, man, what do you stop and say? That's kind of how it was for me. And I was just like, you know what? It's now or never. It may not have this chance to say something to him again. And so I called him, and Jim was a lot taller than I was, and I said, hey man, I'm a huge fan of your son's, Harry Chapin. And I thought, why did I just say that? Because I'm a big fan of Harry Chapin's, but I'm a huge fan of Jim Chapin. And I just didn't really know how to cover that up, and it was just one of those really awkward kind of moments. And Jim, just being the person he was, he just says, oh, that's really great. That's fantastic, And I was a big fan of Harry's music too, and thanks a lot. Good seeing you. And he just walks off. I was like, oh man, I blew it. I just blew it. And so later on, I ended up seeing him, and told him, I'm a drummer and I really want to play, and I've kind of studied some of your Moeller system stuff. But again, this is before there's YouTube, so you just can't find Moeller system and how it all works and all that. And he says, well, let me see you do it, and he's sitting in the, I think the drum workshop booth at the time, and he's sitting there and he says, let me see you do it. And I start kind of showing him, what I'm working on. Moeller says, and it was probably terrible, but Jim, again, just nicest guy, he says, that's great, that's amazing, you're doing so good, look at this guy, he's getting people from DW to look at it, and I'm like 16, I'm thinking, oh my God, Jim Chapin thinks I'm great, and keep playing. And that was kind of the beginning of a very long relationship with Jim myself. And I kind of just fell in love with everything he was doing right there. And I hope he fell in love with everything I was doing, but I didn't know the vast, library of drum knowledge in Jim's head. And I didn't know the vast amount of players that Jim Chapin, had influence on. And, these were all players that were some of my greatest idols. And I was just thinking, man, just how amazing is that I'm actually going to be able to sit here and talk to this guy. And then months later, I found myself in Sag Harbor, New York, at Jim's house, sitting in his cellar taking a lesson from him. And it was really pretty cool. And that's how I kind of got started with Jim Chapin.